Hey guys, and welcome to another Let's Fail with me, NaNoWriMer from Rant Gaming. The game that I'll be playing about 30 minutes for you today is Age of Wushu, and it's a free-to-play martial arts action MMORPG from Snail Games. Now, one of the first things you're going to notice when you log into Age of Wushu, other than the giant honking picture of Jet Li inviting you to play the game, is a little warning that comes up that says you are entering a PvP zone. Basically, the game is open PvP like most Asian MMORPGs, and if you choose not to click OK, then you also are choosing not to play the game. So keep that in mind if you're more of a PvEer. If you don't really enjoy getting ganked randomly, then you may want to look at other alternatives right off the bat. One of the things I noticed right away about the character creation in Age of Wushu is that they do offer a choice of backgrounds, which most free-to-play MMOs will not. Of the four, there's the Phoenix Pledge, which is you and your sister are all orphans, and then she got kidnapped, and something mysterious figures in black. You have one where you were ambushed and badly wounded by assassins, and a famous swordsman discovered you. Then you have one where you were raised in a humble shop, kind of like Kung Fu Panda, and you always wanted to have a life of adventure. It's just little stuff like that also determines your starting city, and not so much your stats at this time, but just a little something to give your character, you know. As for character creation, it's not as extensive as Perfect World or Aeon. Probably not even as much as Terra, even though in Terra you could pretty much be a skanky bitch or a skankier bitch. The girls are a little more wholesome in this one and not as endowed. You can mess around, as you can see here, with their eyes, their noses, and mouths. It's little things. So I'm just gonna show you a little bit of that, because I know, at least for me, when I play an MMO, I kind of like to make the character as much me as possible. Only this would be like a pure, kind, innocent me. Now, while I'm messing around with my character, I should probably tell you there is a cash shop involved in Age of Wushu, which hopefully I can show you within our first 30 minutes. From what I've seen, and I've played the game before for a couple hours before making this, there wasn't anything game-changing, game-breaking. Mostly they had mounts, a lot of cosmetics, and the only thing I could possibly see as an advantage are these scrolls that allow you to gain double the crafting materials in certain gathering professions. I'll see if I can get a shot of that. Well, I finished dressing up my chick. You can, as you can see, you can pick a couple terrible outfits for them, but you'll be changing them pretty quick. I probably shouldn't spend so much time, but oh well. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a name. This is the name that I always use, so if you do see an Ixa running around somewhere, an Ixa, then go ahead and give me a shout out. It's probably me. Start the game up and let you see the opening sequences. Once again, depending on what background you did choose, the opening town and cutscenes do vary as well. The game does a pretty decent job of providing a tutorial, and you can always refer to these once you're done with them. If you forget, there's a little book in the corner by the mini-map in the top right there, and you can go back and review anything you might have missed. Moving around, WASD, I believe there is an option to bind it all to mouse or to click and move. but you know, we don't do that. There's a couple options that you can see in the game for messing stuff around. I already have it turned up to pretty much the best you can get it at. You can also adjust for buttons to try and keybind. I noticed that certain keybinds the game does not like to take. I was in an instance a little earlier, and what would happen is it would just ignore my keybinds, and I had to end up clicking, which really looks uncool. I'll show you how the quests work, and it's pretty much like any MMO. If you've played them before, you talk to a dude with a giant icon above his head or her head. You do whatever they say or whatever they tell you to do, and you usually get rewarded for it. Now, obviously the first couple quests will be tutorial guide quests, and if you've never played an MMO, and I actually shouldn't say that because this game is a lot different from other MMOs that I've played, I would just suggest paying close attention to these and also referring to the guide every once in a while. It actually took me, and I play free MMOs all the time. Like, that's kind of sad to admit, but I do play them all the time because, well, they're free and why not? This is very, very different. You know, if you played Silk Road, if you play WoW, if you played Runes of Magic, this is very different from all those games. And if you're kind of wondering what's happened, the game has an auto-run feature where you can click on the keywords in the quest log, the usually green names or locations, and it will take you straight there. Well, by straight there, I mean on a really, really awkward path. When you run into people, you actually end up pushing them away. It was kind of funny. I ran into a little kid and just kind of pushed him off to the side. Sometimes people in town will react by saying, "My toes!" It's kind of funny. And you will be doing a lot of running. I know that this is probably one of the ways that Snail tries to get you to technically spend more time in the game. Especially during beta, you're actually limited to, I believe it's 10 hours. And then after the original 10 hours or 600 minutes, you're limited to 60 minutes a day of play for free unless you upgrade. I can tell you right now, I don't have any plans to upgrade. For $10 a month, I'm not sure if this is something that I would want to do. I think there's a lot of other options for me, especially because you know, I'm mainly an FPS player. But the graphics, they're alright. I guess they're on the better side for a free MMO. But to justify $10 a month, not sure. Well, it is free, so I do recommend that you guys, check it out and see for yourself if it's something for you. And what we're doing right now, we're gonna go in, we're gonna learn the basics of combat. So one of the first things you're gonna notice is that combat in Age of Wushu, it does follow the cooldown strat that most of us are used to. So you're going to be given a set, and right now we don't have any skills, so we just have the main thing. The first thing you're going to learn is the block, and that's by holding the right mouse down. Now in Age of Wushu, you don't so much learn your skills by leveling up. There are no levels, which actually I prefer. It's a skill-based game, so essentially you get all the skills that you need right up front, and what you end up doing is cultivating them with experience. So as you go through the game, you'll do quests, you'll do some dailies, you'll do some gathering or creation. You'll get experience for everything, which you can in turn convert to up one of your skills. you pick which skill you want to up, so you can make your character your own way. If you know that you're not going to use a lot of attacks, you can even make a purely lore-based musician or scholarly character. Although I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, one of the cool things about this game that I'm going to give props for sure is bringing in so many different martial arts styles that if you're familiar with kung fu movies, you know, like Iron Monkey, or I love Iron Monkey, sorry. If you love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, oh my god, I love Hero, Nameless, Skyfight, awesome. All those systems are in Age of Wushu. So if you're a martial arts buff, most likely you're gonna really want to give this a try, and then do some of the side occupations on the side. So here we're just beating up on this poor guy to learn the basics here. Unfortunately, we're limited to 30 minutes. This is one of those games that you really can't explain. That's why I'm talking so much, and I do apologize for that. But it's really hard to explain this game in such a short time. Maybe for fighting game enthusiasts, you're more used to the system, but it's basically a rock, paper, scissors system of fighting. So you'll get something called overt moves, you'll get blocks, and you'll also get feints. And the way it works is overt moves are parried by blocks, blocks are broken by feints, and overt moves in turn with overwhelm feints. They're all color coordinated. I think feint is blue, block is green, and the overt moves are red. So you kind of want to learn what everything looks like. You want to learn the colors, and you want to learn your skills, and then use them against your opponent that way. It is a lot to learn at first. This probably isn't something that you will pick up right away. I'm still confused. I've played the game for a couple hours now, and I'm still just right now mashing buttons, kind of doing what looks the coolest. But I definitely recommend, especially if you plan on spending that $10 to learn how to fight. And I do want to bring this up now because I'm pretty sure that you noticed before when I was running through town shoving people out of my way that there were a couple of people in town doing some crazy acrobatics. If you're used to Asian kung fu movies or martial art movies, you'll know there's a lot of wire work. Well, Age of Wushu tries to replicate that, and later on you'll see you'll get huge, towering double jumps. You'll even learn to fly. You can run on water. So, I mean, it's not going to happen right away, but there is that in the game. So here what you're seeing, I'm actually just taking a couple of hits right now to build my rage meter, which if you look under my little life bar on the top left corner of the screen, you see these little flames. Yeah, so I'm trying to get through those so I can unleash one of my mega moves. I'm gonna let this guy beat on me. And then bam! I mean, look, let's face it, that does look pretty cool. But I will tell you, there's a lot of lag, and I'm not that far away from the server as far as I can tell, but there's a lot of lag input lag at this moment. I'm not sure if that'll change when the game finally releases, but yeah, I will tell you that in an earlier instance I had a lot of trouble with just mobs flying all around the place. And not because they can fly, but because we were just getting horrendous lag in instances. Now, one of the things that I kind of had to do for this particular Let's Fail is skip a whole bunch of stuff because a lot of it is running back and forth. You do get a horse, which you can call with a very unladylike whistle, but there's still a lot of going back and forth. And I didn't really want to bore you guys with me running around on a horse. So here I am, and one of the first things you're going to do in the game is pick a school that you want to join. And when I say school, it's not like, oh, Montessori, bam. No, these are actually martial arts schools. And you'll recognize some, right? Even people not so much familiar with Asian lore. The Shaolin School, of course, but that school of monks only takes male disciples, so I can't do that. There is a female-only healing school called I'm assuming it's Eme, that I did try. You get a very pretty pink dress and lots of flowery effects. What I chose for this particular playthrough was the Scholar School, and I like not the definition. Sorry, I like the description that you pretty much wander around playing music and killing people. So that's what I'm going with this time. In addition to those schools, there's also a beggar school where you can actually stop players and beg them for money. There's an assassin type school called the Tangmen. There's I guess you'd call it a mage school called the Wanderer's Valley, and each school uses a different weapon. There's staves, daggers, and for my school, it's the one-handed sword. Now, for my school, I had to take the life profession of musician in order to join. I mean, you could have taken calligraphy or something else too, but I chose music. And I'm going to show you guys the way they do music is actually a mini game, and you'll notice that pretty much everything else, every other profession that you pick up, are also mini games. This one's very, very simple. Obviously, as you get, bigger pieces or more advanced pieces of music, you'll have to input more than one letter. I know for like herbalism, you're clicking. The guy will give you an order of materials that you have to combine at once, and you have to click on the right icons at the right time just to match. So they're actually kind of fun. I don't know how fun they'll be the 50 billionth time you do them, but I do like the idea of the more you play an instrument, the more proficient you become with it. And naturally, if music isn't for you, there's also the begging school, which you need to pick up in order to join the beggar sect. There's also traditional tailoring, herbalism, as I mentioned, and then you have blacksmithing, because you do need to worry about repairs in the game. You have gathering skills like wood chopping, I think it's wood cutting. You can collect herbs, of course, to go with your herbalism. And there's fishing, which I wanted to pick up, but I would never play the game. And cooking as well, which is another thing I would probably pick up. You do need to eat food in this game, otherwise you start to recoup your hit points and stuff a little slower. So keep that in mind when you're playing as well. Now, Age of Wushu is being built as an open world sandbox, much in the vein of Eve. There are definitely some aspects that remind me of that, and I do see some players who do nothing but craft, which is fine. That's I like crafting. I can't do it all the time, but for those of you who do enjoy that, you can go around doing nothing but gathering, crafting, and then selling your wares. That they have in-game stalls that you can set up, and you can play the part of a merchant. Now, for the rest of you, there's also the ability to cultivate your battle skills and not even worry about those secondary profession skills. It's nice that they give you the chance. It's just that, do I want to spend the time doing that in this game? With other AAA titles coming out, I know Elder Scrolls Online is coming out. There's another MMO coming out eventually called Bless. That looks pretty good. There's another one called Ein. I don't know if I want to spend my money in Age of Wushu. It's right now it's not looking like anything for me. Now, I definitely think that there are some really great ideas that they have implemented, like the classless skill system. I mean, you can technically pick up any skill that you like and learn it. I like that. I hate levels, and like I said before, it's great that the more you spend time on a profession, the better you get at it. I also appreciate the battle system, where it's not necessarily the strongest character can win. If you don't use your skills right, it's possible that someone who's been playing the game for weeks and weeks can lose to a much younger player if they're not using their blocks, if they're not timing their overt moves correctly. So that part of the game, I think, has a lot of potential. The problem is, after playing for a couple hours, I can't find myself being, pushed to want to keep playing. There's a lot of stuff that is buggy. Now, with the restriction, which is, at least for the US beta, it's, like I said, 10 hours, and then you're limited to 60 minutes a day before you have to start paying. I don't know if that's a really good idea for this game. I'm hoping that they decide to lift that when they go into, I believe it's a second beta phase in February. Yeah, in early Feb. I think it's the first. But I don't think it's a good idea to limit your players so much when you're trying to sell a game, especially a game that you can't fully explore in a couple hours. Now, from what I've read on certain forums, there is something that you can do to play the game on Russian servers with no restrictions. You might want to check that out to see how you like the game when you aren't limited to 11 hours, because I sincerely doubt that you're going to understand Eve in 11 hours. If you're not going to understand Eve, you're not going to understand this game in 11 hours. Personally, I don't think there's enough in the game for me to want to put in more than 11. And that's not at all to say that there's nothing to do. I mean, there's daily events that you can take part in. There's obviously the crafting, the professions that you can take part in. You can fight all day long and improve your skills. You can join a guild and PvP as a guild, building up your guild site. I mean, really, if you look for it, if you know where to look, and there's a lot of guides out there that you can look at, which I'll link to in my formal article, you won't run out of things to do. But for some reason, this game seems like it's just missing something to really grab my attention. Maybe I'm getting old, but I normally love sandboxes. I cannot tell you how much time I spent playing Star Wars Galaxies, and mainly I was a crafter. I started out as a rifleman combat medic, and then I moved on, and all I did was make armor. I went to different planets, mined the best materials, and put them all together to make, the most super awesome armor that you possibly could make. And I was famous for that. That's cool to me. And while it seems like you kind of have that in Age of Wushu, there's just something severely lacking. And it's not even Wookiees. I mean, you can there's Jet Li is in this fucking game. You can fly and run on water. That should be enough to hold someone's attention, right? And yet it doesn't. I can't explain why. It's just something is missing from the game. Now, I understand this probably sounds like a whole lot of bitching, but, it's me. And that's pretty much what I do on a daily basis. But this is one of the games that I was actually kind of excited about trying out, and then getting hit with all these restrictions from the get-go, and then being not so much forced, but being nudged pretty heavily toward paying for the game which is touted as free to play, that really did put me off. And trust me, I've paid for free to play games before. I have no problem plunking down some money for a lot of stupid things, like in Battle of the Immortals. Yeah, hell yeah, I paid for that dancing cat that did nothing but, bounce on my back. But that gave me entertainment. At the same token, I don't really want to pay because they're forcing me, essentially, if I want to. Well, at least at this stage. Obviously, things will change later on. I'm sure. I mean, they have to if they want more people to try it. But seriously, come on, guys. You're trying to sell a game. Do not limit people. Don't shove the cash shop in our faces. We can make our own decisions. If we like your game, we'll buy it. It's as simple as that. And I should probably add the other reason that I'm getting a little heated about this is because the game isn't even live. This is beta that you're pretty much being asked to pay for, and I don't think that, I understand they do that in a lot of Asian MMOs where they do take your money during an open beta phase or a closed beta, but you really can't do that. It's just something about that is really fishy to me, especially when the game also has a cash shop. It's like, not only are you paying for beta, then you also have to pay for a cash shop? Possibly. I'm not, but this is exactly how I felt when I was playing Terra. It had a sub, and then it also had a cash shop. It just felt really gross to me because there were things completely broken about the game and just the lack of content at the end there. But, by the way, our cash shop works. Okay, no, you fix the fucking game and then ask for money, not the other way around. And I realize now that I completely neglected to show you more gameplay from Age of Wushu because I was getting so carried away with yelling about the game. I want to say, honestly, it's not a terrible game. It's not for me though. I think that you really need to be able to try the game in its entirety. And I feel that the artificial limits that they imposed on beta kind of stopped me from wanting to enjoy that or wanting to learn more about the game. So whether or not you guys, choose to pay the money, it's completely up to you. Once again, I do recommend downloading it. It is kind of hefty, I guess, for some folks. I think it clocks in at about 7.2 gigs. I think that's what it said on mine. The download doesn't take that long. The game's very easy to install. There's a very short patch. I don't think it's even a patch. It's just an update or whatever. So try it. Try it, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about it. Maybe you liked it. Maybe you loved it. I could be completely wrong. Convince me to play the game again if you want to. I'd like to get your opinion because it's just not for me, and maybe someone else out there will appreciate your opinion. With that being said, I think I'm gonna leave you guys off with some beautiful DDR music playing. And I want to thank you again for listening to me bitch pretty much the entire time. These are my impressions. They're not Rant Gaming's, they're totally mine. If there are games that you'd like to see me play in the future, feel free to leave a comment. And if there are games that you don't want me to play, or you want me to fail at horribly, then tell me about those as well. Thank you once again, and see you guys next time.